Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Intelligent Moron with Alex Silva. I just saw an ad for American Idol on Disney Plus, like right now. I forgot that was a show. I remember that show way back in the early to mid 2000s. I would watch that show. And that show was really good back then. It was incredible. It was like really good must see TV. I remember my family would always watch the newest episode whenever that was. And I remember like everything about it was just so cool. Like watching guys and girls like sing songs, auditioning to become essentially musical artists. And if you actually won, you got a deal through American Idol. I mean, if you've seen it at all, you know the people that won it that have gone famous. Most famously would have been Carrie Underwood, probably the most successful artist to ever come from that show. Made that show, and I'm pretty sure for a while, um, was a judge on that show. If not, it was like some other singing show. But like she's super famous and popular. Um, but I remember that was a must watch TV event every week because they had one like a show that never did anything like that before. Um, and they had the great cast of judges. They had Randy Jackson, they had Paula Abdul, and Simon Cowell. It was the first time I ever seen Ryan Seacrest, and that dude's like everywhere now. Um, and I just remember it being like a pop culture like phenomenon back then. And I just recently saw a commercial for it right now when I was on Disney Plus, and it's just like, wow, this thing is still going. Do people watch it as much as they did back then? I would probably say no, that they don't. I think that The Voice is a show that I remember that most recently had like more attention than American Idol. I remember when that came out, that was something that was kind of beat American Idol out, but American Idol was still on the air and still is on the air. The Voices too, but I feel like all these shows now, these competition singing shows, I just feel like, they're there in the zeitgeist of entertainment, but not many people watch them nowadays. But they still put them out, so I'm guessing their ratings are kind of good. I think there's another one called like Mass Singer. America's Got Talent is another one, but like that can be more than just singing. Um, but these shows, like those type of singing competition shows, are just insane, like an insane era of TV and entertainment that we were going through, right? But it was a good and I think earned, view, because like you're actually watching somebody perform something that a lot of people can't do, which is sing. A lot of people think that they could sing. Sometimes when I'm in the car and the right song comes on, I think I can sing, but I know I can't. I not saying like I've tried it on like a open mic or something, but like I know I can't. I know I have like really no musical talent in the vocal, department. I cannot sing at all. Um, but it's just like it's kind of cool just to see how those shows are so popular and still going, but are justifiable. Like it's something that is earned, and someone had to practice for it. Someone had to actually try to be good at singing, and they had to earn it and practice it, and succeed and fail again, and really have to have dedication enough to do it. you know I remember like in watching the American Idol way back in the day, they would show so many people just, bomb an audition, you know, and it was funny. Like that was also part of I think the appeal to watching that show was to see, people succeed, but also kind of come back and wanting to see people um fail their audition. It was kind of like it was kind of funny, but also kind of like awkward. Like it's like you don't want these people to fail, or you see someone, you're like, oh, this guy probably can sing pretty well, and then it's a total misdirection. And he's just a terrible, terrible singer. In that department, it succeeds, right? It's because it's good entertainment. It's doing its job of entertaining people, entertaining the public, which is you and me at the time. Along with Simon Cowell, right, being the most, sarcastic, blunt, outright sometimes mean judge. That was something that it's like, wow, this guy, Simon Cowell, though, if we really look at like who he is, like he's just like a producer, I think. I don't even think he's like an actual artist. Like at least Paula Abdul and Randy Jackson, they were like musicians. They kind of like knew music, rhythm, melodies, how people should sound, like what good music actually sounds like in terms of like, vocals and tone and pitch and all that. Simon just was like like a producer. I mean, I think that's what he was. I never heard him sing a note in my life. I guess he just kind of signs people, maybe. I don't really know. I think he's coined for discovering One Direction or putting together One Direction. Like I think before One Direction was One Direction, they were going in their separate directions. Like all those guys were their own thing. And Simon Cowell was like, "Hey, I want to make a boy band out of these guys." And that's how it was started. I believe that's how it was started. I remember hearing that way back then when One Direction was popular. And it was because like he put these dudes together and they made a song and they blew up, Gosh, that was so long ago. I remember when those stupid One Direction songs were coming out. Jeez, that was the worst, and that was like kind of like a renaissance of boy bands. Maybe not a renaissance, but a rejuvenation, a resurrection. Like they kind of came back in a way. But not really a whole lot after them, because once they kind of succeeded, it was kind of them, and that was it for a while. And then we got a bunch of K-pop groups popping up here and there, and those got popular. But in terms of like the, how the One Direction came to be, pretty sure it was Simon Cowell. So he does have some kind of talent in finding talent, But in terms of like the music, and like the music basics and what sounds good, I would always listen to like what Paula Abdul and Randy Jackson had to say. Now I think it's like a bunch of alternating judges and, people that judge the auditions and all that now. Like I think I saw like Lionel Richie is doing it right now. I mean, musical great. And I think that there was at one point Katy Perry, I want to say. I'm pretty sure it was Katy Perry. And I think Simon doesn't do it anymore. I'm not too sure. But I'm still pretty positive that the host is still Ryan Seacrest. I mean, that guy does everything now. Talk about a talent, in terms of like hosting and moderating and that type of stuff. He kind of has become like the guy now. If you want like a big time show, big time production that's being hosted, he's kind of the guy. I mean, he's not really like a funny guy. He won't tell like a joke or anything like that, really. But he is stable and he's able to, get you from point A to point B in a good time and with no like fumbles or no like hiccups in a production. He does like the New Year's Eve production now. He's flawless at that. I barely watch that, but what I do see of it, it's like, oh yeah, he's doing his job. He's doing what he's paid to do. Say words, go from one act to another. I feel like I could do that. I feel like I actually am able to do that pretty well. I could read off a teleprompter. I could, give a little, character and a little emphasis on things that need to be said with emphasis and character and, a little bit more of aggressiveness to it if I need to. I'm not saying I'm Ryan Seacrest, but, I could do what Ryan Seacrest does, I think. I think a lot of people could do it, but he definitely does it the best, or one of the best guys to do it. In fact, like he's like the main dude for everything now. Every like big major hosting gig is like done by him. When you really think about it, that's not like sports related or like network bound. Like I feel like I don't know what network he works for. But I feel like he does a lot of things like outside everywhere. He like intercrosses networks. I feel like. Not for certain, but it just kind of feels like he's kind of everywhere. I mean, he did that one show, and it was like with Kelly Ripa for a long time. Live, I think is what it's called. And they just talk about crap. They're just at a desk and they just talk. Kind of like what I do. But I'm by myself. I have no co-hosts, But he's pretty good at it, He's like the Stephen A. Smith of like other network stuff. Like non-sports stuff. Like if you watch ESPN, there was a time where they put Stephen A. Smith in every single thing. I mean, they would have him commentate on basketball, boxing, football, baseball, MMA. Like they threw him into everything. They have him. Sometimes I think they had him even hosting ESPN, which he never did for a while. He was like exclusively to First Take. And then he did First Take, and then he did Get Up, and then he did all these other shows, and like it's Sports Center appearances, and it's like, I mean, they go to Stephen A. Smith for everything at ESPN now. If you watch ESPN now, first of all, you're gonna notice, like if you were an OG like myself that watched it in the early 2000s or late 2000s, early 2010s, like that was the GOAT era of ESPN. And Sports Center in general. Like you had all-time hosts like Neil Everett, John Butchergross, Scott Van Pelt. SVP's still there, but he does his own thing now. You had shows like First Take that had Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith. You had NFL Primetime with Boomer and Tej. I mean, that was a golden age of ESPN. That was like iconic. If you were lucky to watch ESPN back in those days, you lived right. I mean, you had it made. Trying to think of who else was there. There was a lot of Stuart Scott. The great Stuart Scott was there. Just talk about like adding personality to a sports broadcast, just incredible. I mean, really adding character and life to sports broadcasting. Now, there isn't a whole lot of that, I'll be honest with you. I've seen Sports Center, I still watch it, but it's not as lively as it used to be. Everyone's so robotic. Everybody's so playing it safe, and if they're trying to make it their own, it's like not enough. It's like they're just not creative enough, or they're just being held back by the network. Like saying, hey, tone it back, be a little bit more neutral. Don't be so outgoing. It's like, oh, that's kind of weird, Everybody just broadcasts the same as everybody else. There's a couple old heads there that stuck around, like Kevin Connors, that try to make it their own. Matt Berry, kind of tries to make it his own, but you can tell it's being a little bit like neutered in the sense of like cutting down onto their personalities. That's just kind of how I feel, Um, but it still does its job. It gives us sports news when we need the sports news 24/7 around the clock. What other network does that? None. All right, now to some really, really hard news. So Iran. I'm just kidding. No, I'm not going to talk about that. But I did see some pretty cool images of the moon from the Artemis II. I mean, hey, check this out, man. You guys know I'm big on space. I'm big on like what is out there. I want to know everything out there, even though my little brain cannot comprehend it, and it's true. It would not be able to comprehend what's out there. I think my brain would like melt if I knew everything. I think a lot of ours would. Maybe not Albert Einstein's if he were still alive, but like my brain would melt. Trust me. I know the capacity of what my brain can handle. And you do too. Listening to this pod for how many years? You know what my little brain can handle, and it's not much. But these images of the moon from the Artemis II. And if you don't know what the Artemis II is, it's a ship that is being shot on a course around the moon to take photos of the moon. It's not landing on the moon, just sent there to take photos of the moon and what they see, They have some really cool images of like the moon, sides of the moon that you probably never even seen. The moon alongside of the planet Earth, in eclipse. Some really detailed shots of the surface of the moon. I'm talking, bam, close-up images of these craters on the moon, and it looks so freaking cool. Honestly, if I'm being real with y'all, it looked a little fake at first. I kind of like scratched my head, was like, is this artificial intelligence? Am I being AI'd right now? I really hope not, but they look legit. I did some research. I scrolled through. I went to the NASA website, and it looks for real, for real. I got my phone. I got a microscope. I was looking at it on my phone, and I'm like, yeah, this looks legit. It looks way too good to be artificial intelligence. So I was happy about that. I enjoy when humanity actually does something great. In this world, we do a lot of bad things as human beings to other people, which is not good. We hurt people. We treat people badly. We take over. We demolish unrightfully sometimes. But when we can do something like this, when we could band together as a species, send our boys up to the skies, and they could just take photos. And as simple as it might sound, right? But like these images are breathtaking. I mean, it's like, whoa, the moon is just that? That's what it really looks like up close? It's phenomenal. Because we see the moon from where we're at. It doesn't look like that at all. I mean, sort of, but like from a naked eye point, it's like, okay, it's just like a white orb, a white ball. Like it's got like some gray in it. Some nights it looks like yellow, some nights orange, sometimes it looks kind of red, just depending on where the sun's at or something like that. Or I don't know exactly. I'm not a scientist, but like seeing it the way it looks, just like that gray color with all those craters on it, and it looking so like the surroundings and the space around it look like it's like, what? That's it? That's what's there? That's how it looks like? I mean, to me, that's just kind of incredible of how like simple it actually is. I think I saved some images here. Let me see. It's under NASA. I know I didn't save any, but I know that NASA has put them up. But wow, I mean, like these images look so freaking awesome. Like, you can't really. It's hard to believe how cool these look, and just like how simple the moon itself is, it's not a complex thing, right? It's just a rock out there floating in space. And the way it looks is just so weird. And then us, you know, if you look at these images, bro, like that are, the moon and then the earth in the background, and around it is just blackness, darkness. You can't even see stars. It's like, what the heck, man? It's almost kind of scary. You see it and you're like, whoa, that is just creepy, eerie, strange. It's like, it almost like kind of makes you never want to go into space at all. Just of how like sheer the loneliness and the darkness is out there. You wouldn't even want to go there. I know I say I would love to go into space travel, but that's always from the perspective of a sci-fi film or a science fiction video game or something like that. It's never in like the reality of real life space travel. Like real life space travel, dude, would be, you could probably say it would be painful. Like having to go in a metal tube or a metal, just like a, very tight, very spaceless area and just kind of float to that, destination, and just being out there floating around in some kind of metal tube. Not all that exciting, I would say. I mean, maybe it would be if like I'm actually on the ship. I would feel it. I'd feel the excitement. But also, it's just like seeing these images is like, I would be scared to death. I actually would not want to do that because it looks too scary for me to be out there. And lonely, like big time. It's like, I would not want to do that. I couldn't imagine myself doing that. Actually, I would be terrified. But these images, if you haven't seen them, they're really cool. Like, I think you should see them. I'm not sure when the craft will be back or when the astronauts will be back, but I think it's gonna be rather soon when they'll come back to Earth. But regardless, what an accomplishment for humanity, going up there, going that close to the moon for the first time in so many years, right? And getting these images, quite extraordinary. It's like, this is exactly what we should have been doing a long time ago, instead of like, starting conflicts. Like, I feel like, when we went to the moon back in 1969, which is when we landed on the moon, that was a big achievement. Tremendous achievement. You almost kind of think it's like, that was like such a lightning in the bottle achievement based on the scenarios on Earth and what was going on the planet and why we were able to do that so long ago, right? You think about it, it's like we put men on the moon in 1969, and it's now 2026, and we're just kind of flying around it just to take photos. We didn't even land any people on the moon, and that's still a big accomplishment. But it's like, I mean, you just think about it. If there was no war, no wars, no conflicts, we were all, together. Shoot, I mean, we could have put all our strength together as a planet. We could have been on the moon already, like living there. Not to say it would be a nice place to live, but people could live there. Scientists could live there to do like research that takes, time, to discover things on the moon and to really crack the moon's secrets, if it has any secrets. Which, hey, I mean, if you think about it, why would it not? I mean, I'm sure there's some secrets on the moon that we are unaware of. Maybe there was a reason why we never went to the moon. Maybe there was something on there. It's like, what the heck is this? That's when the science fiction comes out, right? The the strange stuff comes out. But it's like, hey, if we don't do any research on it, then we can't find any strange stuff. And if there's strange stuff, then we gotta, be able to put the scientific method to the strange stuff. That's what I would do, because my brain is naturally curious. Like, I would want to explore every single crater on the moon, on the light side, and even the dark side of the moon. I would. I don't know about you guys, but I would. I'm pretty sure astronomers, astronauts, meteor scientists, all these people that work in this field of space and outer space, right? They would want to know exactly what's on the moon, right? I mean, like, we could jump to conclusions, right, and say, like, it's just a floating rock with craters and that's it. But it's like, really? We haven't really been there in a while enough to really explore it and truly see what is out there. At least to my knowledge, we have not. So, I would be, like, very curious to actually step back onto the moon. This is a big step. Don't get me wrong. Artemis II is a big, gigantic step. We have not had these great detailed shots of the moon ever, right? But at that point, once we complete this mission, Artemis III, we go back to the moon. We go back and step foot and explore for real. I'm talking like a multi-month campaign of just exploring the moon. Truly. Like, we have the technology. We already been there before. We can do it, right? Get a rover, we have better suits. We have better propulsion systems. We can get there quicker. Let's do it. After the success of this, I mean, look at this. Think about this, right? Everyone right now, so many people are talking about the Artemis II. Everybody's interested in Artemis II, right? And to my knowledge, people only do things when other people are going to pay attention to what they're doing. So, look at how the great response of Artemis II. Online, it's been everywhere, Everyone's been talking about these images, the astronauts going on this mission, the details of the mission. Everyone is hooked on Artemis II. Artemis III now. We actually get live video of our boys stepping foot on the moon. That could be legendary. Like, that could be monumental. I mean, just think about this, right? It's, it'll be worldwide news, national, international. It would be everywhere, and it would just be like the hardcore news. There could be memes coming out of it. Like, it would be incredible if we were to step back onto the moon. I think we gotta actually truly go back on there and really look and see what's there and do it live. Like, show us up there doing it. I don't know, though. That's just what I think. I think we should. Other people say it's way too expensive. I understand that. But at the same time, it's like, we gotta strike while the iron's hot. I mean, we really gotta do this. This has to be done within my lifetime. I wanted Mars. I still do want Mars. But the moon is right there. And if we can do these in a matter of weeks, what's holding us back? Budgets, money, the risk. Yeah, those are valid points. I mean, I had just watched Project Hail Mary, and one of the main points where the character Ryland Grace argues is the risk of this and the risk of life, which I understand. All those 4 people out there, in the Artemis II, I mean, whether you heard about it or not, whether you know the truth or not, I mean, when you sign up for that mission, I expect that you're signing yourself like willing to die, because that mission is, regardless of how simple you might think it is extremely dangerous. I mean, the probability of success and failure, I would assume, is not, the best probability that you would want to hear. At least the success rate, Think about it. You got to launch a craft into space, fly around the moon, and then come back to Earth. A lot could go wrong. So much can go wrong. I mean, I'm pretty sure that there was a lot of like blinking red lights and, alerts going on in the spacecraft that we're not going to know about. But those boys had to deal with it and figure out those problems. I could only imagine that, you know? You know how you see in movies that regard space, when a guy's piloting some kind of craft and you got red alerts going on, and he's got to fix this or he's going to die? I'm pretty sure that all happened on the Artemis II mission. It had to have. There's no way it did not. No way they got like a perfect mission where nothing bad happened. There's no way. So I can imagine the risk in it, the stress that'll be involved is a lot to undertake, and a lot for somebody, and not just one person, but 4 people to commit to. I can only imagine, right? Being an astronaut, going into space every single time is, you would have to essentially be okay with passing away on one of these missions. I mean, like I said, the what's it called? The success rate, probably not the best when dealing with these kind of risks. But anyways, still cool. Artemis 2 is sick. It's really freaking cool. But next step, Artemis 3, we go home. We go back to the moon. Not it's not our home, but you know what I mean. We retake our land. All right. Next on my list is some movie news. It was brought to my attention a couple days ago that Dune Part 3 has already sold out early ticket sales in 70 millimeter film across the globe. Already sold out. And I've already seen ticket prices on like Craigslist for like $900 or eBay. I can't remember, but like, scalpers are reselling these tickets for such a high price. I mean, if this is any indication that this movie is going to be massive, I mean, this is just incredible. I mean, I cannot wait to see this film in IMAX. And to see it already have this kind of buzz in barely April, and the movie comes out in December, this is going so well for Warner Brothers and Denis Villeneuve. Like, we are on a course to have a magical December of the movies when it comes to Dune Part 3. I cannot wait for this. You know what? I'm going to say this right now. I am going to try my very, very, very best to see it at a premiere. Not like a red carpet, not like a celebrity premiere, but at a midnight or before release in my local IMAX theater. I'm going to try to. I'm going to be one of the first to see Dune Part 3. I'm going to make that my goal for this year. By the end of the year, I need to see this film and be one of the first to see this film in IMAX. I have to. I don't think I'm going to be able to survive if I am not one of the first people to see it. I really don't think I will be. Dune Part 1 and Dune Part 2, I want to say I saw opening weekend, either Saturday or Sunday. I want to say it's when I saw them for the first time. But this one, I think I need to see it as soon as it's in the theaters in my area. That's usually for me a day in advance. So if the movie came out on a Friday, I would see it that Thursday night. So I would have to see it that time. I think that there is no other option for me. I think it must be done at that time. Just because of the sheer hype for this movie, the epicness, the ending of the Dune trilogy, and the fact that this movie is just balls to the wall and looks so freaking epic. Like, this is going to be like the movie event of the year, I think. There's already rumors. I'm not sure if this is confirmed yet, but this is a rumor that I've been seeing cycling around X and social media that Avengers Doomsday could move dates. I heard it could move up a week earlier. So it would come out on December 11th instead of December 18th, the same day as Doom Part 3. Now, that would be a monumental move. That would be a coward's move, which I think if you're Avengers Doomsday, you are the underdog in this fight. I'm sorry to say. I know that you're Marvel. I know that you're Avengers, but you have nothing going for you right now. Dune does. So I think that it's best if they do move up ahead a week. That way, they can have some time in the IMAX theater for a good 7 days, 7 or 6 days. And then Dune comes in, because Dune's going to rip the IMAX theaters from them. Like, it won't even be fair. It's going to happen. I can guarantee you this, man. We ain't got no trailer yet for Avengers. We got one for Dune Part 3, and that one is absolutely scalding hot. I don't think that the Doomsday trailer can do as good as the Dune Part 3 trailer. No matter what they put in it, I don't think it's going to be that good. But I could be wrong on this. I could be in the minority. I could be totally oblivious to the still hype for Marvel movies that might still exist. To my knowledge, though, it's not as strong as it used to be. But hey, people play Marvel Rivals. They still like Marvel TV shows. They still watch these Marvel movies. I could be dead wrong. I could be totally dead wrong. But for me, there's only one option. Like, if Dune Part 3 and Avengers Doomsday come out on the same exact day, if that holds true, if none of them budge, I'm seeing Dune Part 3 3 times before I even see Avengers Doomsday. I am. I'm sorry. I will see it that week, like at least maybe twice. Another the following week, maybe one after that. And then I might think about seeing Doomsday, and if it's too late, then I'll just wait for it to be on Disney Plus. Like, that's my mentality right now between the two films. Like, I'm ready to see Dune Part 3 4 or 5 times right now. I might think about seeing Doomsday. It might cross my mind, but it also might just, it might just wind up on Disney Plus. I'm like, oh yeah, that came out. But yeah, these early sold out ticket pre-sales are a incredible sign, and I mean, the hype for this movie is so real. It is so real. It might be the most hyped movie of the year right now, and that's in a year with an Avengers movie, a Spider-Man movie, and a Christopher Nolan movie. Don't forget about that, boys. The Odyssey comes out in July, which I also cannot wait to see. But I mean, like, I was blown away by that trailer for The Odyssey. But this Doom Part 3 thing, man. Whoa. I mean, I love Chris Nolan. I love Denis Villeneuve. But I have to pick one of these to see. If now I can only pick one, I might have to go Doom Part 3. Now, I live in a world where I can do both. But if I could only pick one, it might be Doom Part 3. In sports news to close out this week's show, Michigan beat UConn in the men's national championship for basketball, which means the Big Ten has won the national championship for basketball and the national championship for football. And that also means that the Big Ten reigns supreme in college sports, being the king of the conferences. That's right. We could now officially put to rest at this moment the debate between the SEC and the Big Ten. The Big Ten right now reigns supreme. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't watch the national championship for the basketball. I thought UConn could have won because if UConn has Danny Hurley as head coach, anything's possible. I was watching the highlights. It was a back and forth for the most part. Got chippy, but Michigan was able to hold on to that lead. UConn fought back. They got Danny Hurley as head coach. They're always going to fight back. But it was too much. Michigan was way too good. UConn challenged them. They definitely did not, win by such a high margin compared to their previous competition. But Michigan, the better team, the best team in the tournament, by far, and deserved that win. So that means now that Michigan has won the basketball national championship, that the Big Ten, back-to-back college football champs, women's basketball champions, women's hockey champs back-to-back, men's soccer champs, men's field hockey champs, water polo champs, And by the way, we have to put, you're saying women's basketball. That was UCLA. UCLA is in the Big Ten. So, as weird as that sounds, they're part of the Big Ten. So, the Big Ten is superior in sports and college athletics. They are the kings. SEC is now just an afterthought. Remember back in the day when it was always SEC winning football? And it was either ACC, Big Ten, Big East winning basketball. So far, probably can't say that for much longer. The Big Ten is really looking up right now. It really is. So, are other conferences going to step it up? Potentially. With the transfer portal? Who knows? Anything can happen. Anyone can go anywhere. Anyone can play for anybody, whether they like it or not. It is a thing that has been implemented. So we have to prepare for that and see what happens. All right, that's going to be it for me today, people. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Remember, you can find this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube at Intelligent Moron with Alex Silva. New episodes drop every Thursday morning. Make sure to like, subscribe, rate, review, and do all that good stuff. And yes, thank you for listening, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next week.